मैं आपकी होस्ट गायत्री देवी। हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं नरसिम्हा राव सर, और नरसिम्हा राव सर द फेमस एस्ट्रोलॉजर। इंट्रोडक्शन की जरूरत नहीं है, बट स्टिल बहुत सारे व्यूअर्स कई बार नए जुड़ते हैं। ही इज एन एस्ट्रोलॉजर, लाइक इनके पिताजी भी एस्ट्रोलॉजर से थे, सर भी एस्ट्रोलॉजर है। That is his side thing, huh? That is something which came up family wise. But apart from that, he's a software engineer. He is an author. He has a fantastic website. Sir also has a YouTube channel. So I'll put the links of those websites and YouTube channel on the description box, and also I'll pin it in the chat. Please go and watch home rituals. बहुत सारी और भी सारी चीजें सर अपने चैनल पर बताते रहते हैं रेगुलरली, और सिखाते भी हैं कि कैसे करना है। आज हम बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स डिस्कस करने वाले हैं, सो एंड तक बने रहेगा। अ वेरी वार्म वेलकम ऑन द शो पेरियन्ना।
Namaste Gayatri ji, happy Bhai Dooj.
Happy Bhai
Happy
Dooj,
Amad Tritiya,
Perianna.
Amad Tritiya.
Amrit Titiya. So, Perianna, I'll start with a bombarding question. बहुत सारे नेगेटिव फोर्सेस इस वक्त भारत को घेरने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं चारों तरफ से, चाहे उधर बांग्लादेश हो, उधर नेपाल की साइड पे अभी आज ही एक न्यूज आई है कि चाइना इज गोइंग टू प्रिंट नेपाल्स करेंसी, देन उधर पाकिस्तान, अफगानिस्तान, डीप स्टेट, कनाडा, सब भारत को घेरने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। बांग्लादेश, ऐसा लग रहा है भारत में एक सिविल वॉर कराने की कोशिश की जा रही है जी।
Yeah, I can understand given the happenings in the neighborhood of India and given the the rise of tensions between Canada and India and all the accusations that Canada is making against India, it is very reasonable to think that there is an effort to create a civil war and create some strife in India. It is a very reasonable thing to expect, but I will weigh in astrologically. Astrologically speaking, I think the last few years were a bit tense for India, particularly the last year between from August 2023 till August 2024 was a very problematic year. This was a year when there was a real chance of anti-India forces taking control of India. This was before the elections. I said that this is Rahul Gandhi's best chance in life to become the prime minister, but I said that he will not succeed. I said that BJP is being overconfident. It will be a much closer election, but they will prevail. So that phase is over. Now we are in a new phase. The August 2024 to August 2025 is a much better year for India, astrologically speaking. And secondly, based on Narendra Modi's chart, the previous year was also good, but the current year, which started in September 2024, is a really good year for him. So this is a year when there will be some political success, and also particularly next year after Saturn changes sign, goes from Aquarius to Pisces. In basically he's in the 8th house in India's chart, and he will leave the 8th house in March 2025. So after that, so about a 6-month period is really good for India and Sri Narendra Modi ji. This is a time when they will be aggressive. The government, India's ruling government, will be aggressive, and there will be some serious reforms and lot of political success. Some elections will be won, and some important agenda will be passed. So and moreover, this is a time when they can actually target to weaken the opposition, split some opposition, key opposition parties. So this is in general a time of growth for India, for Narendra Modi ji, for the BJP party, etc. So I was concerned in the past, but I am very optimistic about the future, particularly after March. But the thing is, at the same time, if you look at the global situation, if you look at the whole world, I am afraid 2025 is a very dark year for the world. At the time of the Chaitra Shukla Pratipada on March 29, 2025, that is when Chaitra Masa starts, Chaitra Shukla Pratipada. In that chart, Pisces has 8 planets. Apart from Sun, Moon, there will be Rahu, Saturn, Venus, Mercury. So the Shashtagraha Kuta, basically 6 planets in the same sign. This is a problematic time for the world. There will be a lot of new tensions developing in the world, and the tensions that have been simmering for a while, they will reach some peak. So I think from next February or particularly March or rather April, next April to September is a very dicey time for the world. This is a time uh, when there can be some serious setbacks for the economic markets, financial markets in the world, and there can be some tensions, new tensions between countries. There can be some conflicts, some seeds of wars happening at that time. So this is a very crazy time. But for India, that Shashtagraha Kota happens in the 11th house from Lagna in India's independence chart. And it is in the 9th house of fortune and diplomacy from India's natal moon. So my my honest assessment is that world will be burning, but this may actually be not such a bad news for India. Instead, it may actually be kind of good in a way for India. Basically, people who want to weaken India, the forces that are trying to attack India, attack meaning not externally or through army, but internally, basically, create propaganda against India, create a really terrible narrative against India and current ruling establishment of India, and weaken the Indian government and try to basically strengthen the opposition in India. Those forces, they will have other things on their minds. There'll be other bigger troubles that they have to attend to. So they may not really be successful in what they do regarding India. So, and moreover, regarding some of the conflicts that are happening in the world, India may get a prominent position. India may be one of the few countries that has a good relation with all the parties involved in these conflicts that are likely to come next summer or mid next year. So it will raise the stature of India in the international community, the Committee of Nations. So overall, my assessment is 2025 is a terrible year for the world. I mean, even 2024 is not a great year. It is okay. In my opinion, 2023 was the last normal year for the world. During the pandemic, we had a lot of troublesome years, and part of 2022 and 2023 are pretty normal years. 2024 is again a year of lot of tension. There are a lot of political setbacks for some important players in the world, and then we have US elections, and then we have the Israel-Iran tension simmering. So a lot of stuff happening internationally. This is a very destabilizing year, even though you may not feel the consequences of all the main events of this year yet. These will basically fructify over the coming few years, but this is a very severe year for the world. And unfortunately, in my opinion, the next 2 years, 2025 and 2026, are even worse. And particularly from late March or April 2025, there can be some serious stuff happening in the world. But the thing is, for India and for Narendra Modi ji, for BJP, it is a pretty good time. And the other thing is, based on the charts of Congress party and Sri Rahul Gandhi ji, based on their charts, they were running a really good time till Rahul Gandhi's birthday this year. That was really his career best time. And then the current year is also not bad. It's actually pretty good. But the thing is, from June 2025, really terrible time is going to start for Rahul Gandhi ji. So my expectation is there'll be some serious political games played by BJP in the first half of 2025, particularly March, April, May timeframe. And after June, Rahul Gandhi will be in serious trouble and Congress will be in serious trouble. And also based on Narendra Modi ji's chart, September 2025 onwards is not that great for him. It is a time when there will be some setback, and he may actually, that is the time when he may start reflecting on what he wants to do for the country and BJP for the next elections. How do we set up BJP for success in the next elections, for bigger success in the next elections? And as the world is basically showing signs that it may be burning in coming years, how to basically plan the leadership transition. Even if they are not genuinely thinking about it right now, I expect that in 2026 they will really start thinking about it. So, in terms of weakening the opposition, in terms of strengthening the hand of BJP, and in terms of passing important, really important legislative agenda for the supporters of BJP. This is the window, September 2024 till September 2025, particularly March, April, May, June, July, August. Those are the time that are really the key window of opportunity. So I do sincerely and earnestly hope that BJP is lining all their ducks and doing all the groundwork for some of the transformative agenda that they may want to pass in that time period. They should really think through in the next few months and plan things, because the chance of success is the highest. Then it doesn't mean it's guaranteed, but it is the highest in a long time. So they should really go for the basically go for a sixer. They should try to hit a sixer, because it's likely that they will get an easy ball at that time. So going back to tensions with Canada, etc. In my opinion, Canada isn't for serious trouble. Based on we don't have independence chart of Canada like India, but based on the mundane charts, based on lunar New Year charts, solar New Year charts, etc. And more importantly, the chart of Justin Trudeau, which is available. Based on his chart, he's not really running a great time, and unfortunately, things are not going to improve for him anytime soon. Things will only get worse. His moon in his chart, natal chart, is in Pisces, and right now Rahu is transiting over his natal moon, so he has Janma Rahu transit. So basically, his mind will be really confused, and all kinds of weird ideas will be coming to the mind. So he personally will be feeling a lot of pressure, and Saturn, he's in the 12th house right now. So he's running the 7.5 years of Sade Sati. And he will finish the first 1/3 in next March, and then he will have Janma Shani. So from March 2025, he will have both Saturn and Rahu over his Janma Chandra. So basically Janma Shani and Janma Rahu. It's not really a pleasant time for anybody. So this is a time when he will face severe setbacks internally within the country, and his popularity for the last 2 years have been really bad for him astrologically. And I think politically, I don't follow Canada politics that much, but looks like he is under some pressure for the last 2 years, and it will get worse over the next 2.5 years. And especially a year and a half later, Shani will be exactly on his natal moon, and that is never a good time. So bottom line is, for the next 2, 3, 4 years, Justin Trudeau is in serious trouble. So my take is, of course, some Indians will be feeling nervous because Canada is considered a big power, a big Western power, and a power really, really close to USA. They may feel that if Canada is doing so much propaganda against India, making such serious accusations against India, maybe US is involved, maybe US is making Canada do all this. So they may think that this is, in the end, if US really wants to do something, US has enough power to make things happen. So people may be worried, but my honest assessment is it is more driven by Canada rather than US. There may be some forces within US that are collaborating, that are cooperating with the Canadian forces, because people think that everything in US is controlled by one person, the president or whoever. Everything in one country is controlled by one person. It's not really like that. In a very advanced country like USA, there are so many forces, so many, like CIA, FBI, State Department, and then everybody has their own momentum based on relations from so many decades, and they have their own protocols, their own way of thinking, their own worldview, and everybody keeps going along with that worldview. So even if there is some change at the top that wants to push the country in a different direction, it's not really that easy. So what happens is, it's like my right hand is doing one thing, my left hand is doing one thing, like that. Basically, that is what happens with countries like US. So the thing is, it is conceivable that there are some forces within the US deep state that are acting against India and colluding with Canada. But the thing is, the good thing is, so far, no concrete evidence has been presented by Canada, and perhaps never will be. Bottom line is, I believe this is driven more by Trudeau's personal troubles, his own chart basically in serious trouble. So he has a lot of pressure, and he's basically seeing this as an escape route, finding a scapegoat in India. And also he has some compulsions, political compulsions currently, which basically require him to be friendly with the Khalistani forces. And there is a lot of history. He and his father have been friends of the Khalistani separatist forces for a long time. So this is basically a personal decision, but this time is not good. So if your enemy, if you have a really vehement enemy, you don't have to worry about all the machinations being done by that enemy, because if that enemy's time is not good and your time is actually better, probably he's going to try that and he's going to go down. And it is noteworthy to observe that US has, of course, US and Canada are very friendly. Canada has a closer relationship with US than India. But the thing is, US has not sided with Canada. They just said these are serious accusations and we will continue to work with the Canadian side. It doesn't mean we agree or disagree. So, but the thing is, there was a case that was registered in US also. So some people may be worried about that. But my assessment is, as I have said in the past, US-India relations are bound to keep going up and up. They are not. It's not like US and India will revert to the relations they had in the 1970s or 1980s during the Congress times. US-India relations will keep rising. But does it mean US is your close friend? US is your buddy, and you can completely trust them? Of course not. US basically, like I said, US has so many forces within what we call as US, and some of them are working with you closely, but some of them are keeping you in check. So this is what great powers do. They don't basically completely put all their eggs in one basket. They basically hedge the bets. So in order to contain China, US needs India. In order to weaken the BRICS coalition, they need India to be more on their side. They want Quad to be stronger than BRICS. That is US agenda. Whereas China and Russia will want BRICS to be stronger than Quad. So both will basically be bidding for India's attention, India's friendship, etc. And that's not a bad thing. And India is really, I think Jaishankarji is playing, Jaishankarji and whoever is driving this agenda, they're playing it very smart instead of basically again putting all eggs in one basket, whether it's the Russia basket or the US basket. They're maintaining good relation with Russia and the whole BRICS coalition, Brazil, Russia, China, South Africa coalition. And there are so many other countries that want to be part of BRICS. At the same time, they're increasing the military cooperation, they're increasing the high-tech cooperation, they're increasing the commercial cooperation with US. And Quad is basically becoming stronger and stronger by the day. So India is doing a smart job by not picking a side. And in my opinion, we should not pick a side. Let this war, I'm using the word war, there's no war yet, but let this war between the Russia, China, North Korea, Iran coalition on one side, and the Israel, NATO coalition and Quad coalition on the other side, let it build over this decade. And towards the end of the decade, in the last few years of the decade, it will be clear we will not have a choice. Basically, Russia, the first choice is first going to be made by Russia, not by India. See, Russia is friendly with both China and India, and China pretends to be friends of India. See, if you look at the BRICS meeting that happened, there were a lot of meetings between China and India, and there was a lot of commentary in social media that now you can dump US, India and China will be friendly and all that. But the thing is, this is just short-sighted. China is a totalitarian country, an authoritative country. Of course, they have some cultural links with us historically. They have some cultural similarity to us, but it's not really anything like India, and they can never be trusted. And in my assessment, over the next few years, China will basically try to backstab India. So the thing is, at that time, when it is India versus China, Russia will not pick India. They will only pick China. They will either remain neutral or pick China. And moreover, as the big war that I am expecting starts to develop towards the end of this decade, definitely Russia will be on the side of China. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, this axis will become stronger and stronger. So at that time, India will have no choice but to be closer to US. So meanwhile, just as US is trying to work with India, but at the same time trying to basically criticize India, trying to put some checks on India India should do the same thing. India should start thinking like a big power. India is used to thinking like a colony of UK, which it was for a long time. We should start thinking like an independent country, a big power, a big financial power, big military power. So we should do the same to other countries, and we should basically. One more thing is, see, US doesn't do a lot of these things. US deep state doesn't do these things officially. Like, it's not like State Department is doing something. They will have a survey that says, oh, there is religious freedom is very weak in India. We should do the same thing. We should have these surveys that say that in US, certain races are certain races are weak, and there is a bias, racial bias, there is religious bias, there is Hindu phobia. All these narratives we have to basically promote. The thing is, deep state uses certain NGOs, etc., certain supposedly neutral entities, which are not really neutral. They are really funded by the deep state. India has long had a policy of not doing any such stuff. But the thing is, we need to have similar organizations. This is time to think about those things. Have similar to US deep state, have a deep state that is aligned with Sanatan Dharma, that is aligned with India's interest, national interest, India's patriotic interest, and that is actively working towards creating narratives about what India stands for, what is India's role in the world, what is US doing, what are the bad things that US is doing, what are the good things that US is doing. Of course, everything is India centric. The things US is doing which are in India's interest, project them as good. The things US is doing that are not in India's interest, project them as bad, and create that narrative. And you won't win that narrative war in a day, because these narratives that trouble us have been created by US over a long time, over decades. So this effort has to start. But going back to the main point, India has to basically do these efforts and counter the US efforts, but at the same time realize that US is trying to hit you with one hand but giving you shake hand with the other hand. You reciprocate it. You basically hit back with one hand and you give a shake hand with the other hand. So let the military cooperation increase, because it's very important come 2030. Let the commercial cooperation, let the technological cooperation increase. It is very important. At the same time, I do think that India has to develop their own technologies, especially in terms of AI technology, cyber technologies, etc. Instead of being a colony of the Western technological companies, we have to basically have some homegrown technologies, and that is very important. So in terms of cyber warfare, AI, etc., India has to invest a lot of money in the next few years, in my opinion, and develop certain capabilities and do that. But at the same time, also have a cooperation with US and work along with US. So if India thinks strategically and develops technology, military, and then basically commerce, my assessment is towards the end of this decade, in 2027, 28, 29 timeframe, US will be a very important partner. So meanwhile, you have to ignore, not ignore in the sense of completely ignoring. You should not basically be biased by the bad things that US is trying to do to Indian interests. You basically counter them, but at the same time, don't stop cooperating because of that. So that's basically that. And in my assessment, Russia may pick China ahead of India, but US will never pick Canada ahead of India. When it comes to, especially later this decade, US proximity with India strategically will be so important. India will be such an important partner that US will not really go against Indian interest in supporting Canada. They will not completely ignore Canada, but they will say, yeah, we are working with them. That's it, basically. They will do the lip service to whatever Canada is trying to do. Moreover, I don't know when the Canada elections are, but given that Trudeau is running a terrible time for the next few years, there is a very good chance that Trudeau will fall. And once Trudeau falls, things may change. The equation with Canada may change. And who knows, US may actually cooperate in that. And who knows, the next Canada elections, one of the important items in that election, one of the important issues in that election may be relations with India. In the next elections, somebody may say India is such an important player in the world and India-US collaboration is increasing. And why are we basically antagonizing India? We should deal with India behind the scenes. And we are making so many serious accusations without serious proof. And even if there is proof, we should basically resolve it diplomatically, not make fuss like this basically in the outside. So that may actually, for all you know, a couple of years down the road, that may become an election issue in Canada. So my 2 cents is, don't put too much currency on what Canada is trying to do. Counter it and fight it tooth and nail. But at the same time, don't overestimate the importance of this. Don't overestimate the strategic importance of Canada's stature in the Committee of Nations. Canada is a small country. It's a big country in landmass, but it's a small country in terms of the power it has internationally. And at the same time, make sure that you are friendly with US and you basically keep the relationship on the right track. And it'll I'm not really concerned about US India relations. There will be some setbacks, but they are going to basically go up and up over the next few years.
Karina, I do have questions on what you have said, but we'll first complete the talk and then I'll take my question and answer session. There is
How are you?
also two things. There are two things which are going on parallelly, very important across the world. Number one is Israel-Iran war, especially in context of what has happened in last 24 hours in Iran. They have again killed a girl for not wearing a hijab properly,
Yeah.
and it has created mass unrest in the Iranian women and men both. And is on the other hand, in US we have Kamala Harris versus Biden.
Trump.
Kamala Harris versus Trump. Yeah.
I mean, it was Kamala Harris versus Biden a while back, a few months back, but now it's versus Trump.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is
So,
what is your
first we'll have a look at the Kamala Harris versus Trump. Where is it going? I mean, where are we looking at it?
pace? See, current opinion polls are suggesting that Trump is ahead. Basically, he's ahead in all the battleground states. Kamala Harris may win the popular vote, but Trump is basically, he will have an easy win. That is what the opinion polls are suggesting currently. But I expect Kamala Harris to prevail. I do expect that Kamala Harris will win. And as a matter of fact, I will not be surprised. And actually, I do expect the win will be decisive enough that the Republican Party will finally move on from Trump late 2025 or in 2026 period. They will just move on and they will reconstruct the party and make it a bigger tent than Trump has made them out to be in the last few years. So I don't think that Trump is going to win. But the thing is, I may be wrong. See, the opinion polls are clearly showing. If you look at the betting markets, I think Poly market has Trump at like 2/3 odds and 1/3 for Kamala Harris. So Trump has higher chance of being the next president according to the betting markets and opinion polls. But I'm afraid, astrologically speaking, I do expect Kamala Harris to win, and I expect Trump to actually be in serious trouble over the next few years. So just like in India 2024, pollsters got a lot of things wrong. They were way off. I'm afraid that in US also the pollsters are missing some factors. One of them may be the Dobbs effect. The Supreme Court basically overturned the Roe v. Wade, which is basically abortion rights. So that, if you look at 2022 midterm elections, there were elections for 1/3 of the Senate seats and House seats. There, they expected a big red wave. That's what the pollsters forecasted. But instead of a big red wave, what we actually end up having is a small blue wave. Democrats actually closed the gap in House and got control of the Senate. So I am afraid a similar thing is happening now. The Dobbs effect is still in play. The women who are upset about the abortion rights being taken away from them, they will still vote against Republican Party. And secondly, there is a fatigue about Trump in the Republican Party. Not whole party, but a small percentage, between 2 to 5% of Republicans, or maybe between 2 to 3% of Republicans, may vote against him to get rid of him and make sure that the party is reconstructed. Because if you look at the endorsements, more than 200 Republican leaders who worked in the Reagan, Bush, etc. administrations, including a former vice president and a former lieutenant governor of a swing state, Georgia, they endorsed Kamala Harris, and his own former vice president is not voting for him, and so many prominent Republicans who are like speaker, vice president, they are not voting for him. So that may embolden. And if you look at the primaries, after she dropped out, Nikki Haley got 16% vote in the Pennsylvania primary. So basically, there are some disaffected Republicans who don't want Trump. They are a minority. So many of them, those 16% of the Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley, many of them will come around and vote for Trump now. But even if a small percentage breaks the ranks and votes for Harris, that will turn the tide. And I am afraid. See, when pollsters do opinion polls, they call 1,000 people and they extrapolate it to 200 million people. So they have to pick their samples correctly. So they use some sampling models. I need educated people, uneducated people, rural people, urban people, like that. I'm afraid they're missing some of these pieces, like the disaffected Republicans who are a very small percentage, and the women who may not be bold enough to say outside, tell their husband that they are not voting for Trump, but they may actually go and vote for Kamala Harris. So posters may be missing a few such factors. So I'm afraid Kamala Harris is going to win pretty decisively, or at least prevail narrowly. So that is my assessment. But in terms of the relations with India, there is a perception, especially in the Indian right wing, that Trump is a friend of India and Kamala Harris is an enemy of India. And I don't disagree that if it is Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, there will be some rhetoric that is basically undermining for India. That is definitely true. If it is Trump, there will be a rhetoric that basically praises Modi, praises BJP. If there is something like CAA, there won't be negative statement. There'll be positive statements. But what you have to remember is the deep state has its way. Whether it's Trump or Kamala Harris, the deep state players will still keep doing the same thing. Trump will do the talk, but when it comes to the walk, he's not really in charge. It is basically various agencies that are in charge. And if you look at his first term, people may think that he said all these nice things about Modi, and there was this nice rally in India, and then he did not criticize the CAA. But the thing is, he actually had tariffs against Indian goods, just like Chinese goods. There were tariffs, and it was basically not so widely reported because he's talking nice about India. But there were tariffs on Indian goods, just like Chinese goods. And if you take the Paris climate deal, Obama agreed to give a concession to India, basically give them longer time to meet the same standards that US will commit to, because the argument is US has polluted for a long time and India is still coming up, so they deserve to get more time. And Trump, who's supposed to be a friend of India, railed against it and said, no, why should India get longer time? They should play by the same rules. So basically, he was against. If you look at, there are many things like this. If you look at the actual policies, it's not really like things were friendly to India. It's all the rhetoric. So I don't think that whether it's Trump or Kamala Harris will make a difference. And in terms of this partnership, the military and commercial cooperation and technological cooperation, this actually started during Obama's term. At the end of Obama term in 2014, Navratris, Narendra Modi ji came here for a state visit. And then that is when the whole thing kicked off. And it basically remained in Trump term. It remained in Biden term, whether it is Donald Trump or Biden who's the president. Irrespective of the rhetoric from the top, the actual partnership growth is steadily going on. So I think that will keep going on. And at the same time, some deep state agencies that are basically encouraging anti-India forces around India and funding some NGOs which are working against India. This will go on. This has gone on in Trump term. This has gone on in Obama term. This has gone on in Biden term. And it will go on in the next term, whether it is of Trump or Kamala Harris. It will just go on. But one thing I want to mention is because Kamala Harris is of Indian origin, her mother is Syamala. She's basically from Tamil Nadu, South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Don't expect that she'll be a friend of India. No, she basically, her worldview is the same as that of Obama and Joe Biden. So, and they will play along with the deep state more happily. So don't expect any preferential treatment to India. She will not be a friend of India, and she will have some bad rhetoric against India, against religious lack of religious freedom in India, etc., like Obama has done or Biden has done. But my 2 cents is it doesn't matter. You return the favor. I think Jaishankarji is doing a fantastic job of returning the favor. So whenever they say bad things about you, you return the favor. But the thing is, all said and done, in the end, you will basically work together on military and commercial and technological issues. So that basically will not change. So in my opinion, people are interested. Uh, people are really following this election closely, but it doesn't really matter. And one last thing, Trump. One thing I really love and appreciate about Trump is he basically came out with a statement in the last few days against Bangladesh, what is happening in the Bangladesh, against Hindus in Bangladesh. So he actually came out against it. And based on Trump's chart, I really don't think he means anything that he says, whether it's about Hindus or Jews or anybody. He's basically an extremely self-centered guy, extremely lacking basically self-confidence, always looking after his interest. So whatever he does is self-centered. He's not really a friend of anybody, whether Hindus or Jews. That's what I feel astrologically. But such a statement coming from president is very useful, so I appreciate it. But again, in the end, whether he's the president or Kamala Harris is the president of India, these are all just rhetoric in terms of what the deep state does, what CIA does, and who's strengthened, who's weakened in India's neighborhood, in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, etc. It will just keep going on. It doesn't really matter. People think that it matters, but it doesn't really matter. It just makes us feel good. That's all basically. It's just rhetoric. So
mainly
I don't think it matters.
He's trying to attract the Hindu votes based in US basically. By
I think exactly. I think he has Tulsi Gabbard on his side. Tulsi Gabbard is a practicing Hindu, though not an Indian. So that already helps him, and this statement will help him. Kamala Harris basically because she's of Indian origin. Some Indian American voters may go towards her. So I believe this is just a strategy on his part. But the thing is, he has some history of being pro-Hindu and pro-Jewish in the past. So I don't discount it completely, but astrologically, I expect him to be a very selfish person who doesn't care about anybody, even his own family. He just cares about himself. That is what I think of him astrologically. And I'm not saying Kamala Harris is a genuine person. Both the charts show pretty selfish people, very self-centered people. One is basically smart, the other keeps saying that he's smart. That's the only difference. Neither is too smart, and neither is very selfless servant of people. Unfortunately, India, you have a lot of good leaders. In US, the choice is not between Ram and Ravan, but between Ravan and Duryodhan, or between Duryodhan and Surpanakha.
Ji, bilkul. So, Pereira, coming to Israel, and now since you brought one of my questions I had saved for the last, actually, Bangladesh Hindus. Is the situation going to change over a period of time when you see the astrological charts across the world? And I know you look at charts with respect to communities also like Hindus, Muslims, and we have done shows even in the past based on that. Do you see anything positive or any improvement in their life? Because looks like they are in deep problem.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Hindus in Bangladesh and also Hindus in some parts of India who are suffering similarly. But the thing is, unfortunately, I apologize, but I haven't really spent a lot of time on the mundane charts of Bangladesh. And especially Bangladesh formation chart is controversial. There are multiple data, and I haven't seen either of them working reliably in the past. So I will spend some time in future and I will talk about Bangladesh. But for now, I don't really have a opinion on Bangladesh. But one thing, Nepal, I have spent some time on Nepal's chart in the past. I'm concerned about Nepal. the Chinese agenda for creating trouble in India's neighborhood, creating a lot of hotspots in India's neighborhood. Sri Lanka, they tried in Sri Lanka, but Nepal is a particularly conducive place. If you look at Nepal, next few years are likely to be very unstable for Nepal. So I'm concerned about Nepal, and as far as Bangladesh is concerned, I will weigh in the future. But one important thing is the most important neighbor of India is Pakistan. And one thing I can say confidently about Pakistan, because I have spent time on their chart, is they are doomed for the next several years. They are not really coming up again. Even if US deep state tries to revive Pakistan and help Pakistan, or even if China basically tries to help them, Pakistan is in deep mess, and it will only get worse over the next few years. So this is a terrible decade for Pakistan, and we haven't even seen the worst for Pakistan. So that is kind of good for India. If Pakistan is unstable, that's basically one less thing you need to worry about. And as far as Bangladesh, I don't really have a clear idea at this time. And you asked about Iran and Israel, the war that has been.
I'll hold you here. You said you're worried about Nepal. In what sense? Because it's an immediate neighbor and it is situated where my favorite leader, Yogi Adityanath, Nepal shares the longest border with Uttar Pradesh. Ji.
Uttar Pradesh, yes. Uh, Basically, based on mundane charts of Nepal and based on Nepal's formation chart, the next 2-3 years are very unstable for Nepal. This is a time when there can be a lot of internal chaos and civil war-like situations in the country, and a lot of foreign influence that is destabilizing to the country, and trouble to the leaders, trouble to the royal family and leaders. So this is not really a rosy time at all for Nepal. This is a time when Nepal has to basically get their act together and realize who are your enemies, who are your friends, and don't let the enemies basically get a way in. And the kind of mass movement that was triggered in Bangladesh by external forces. To see what they do is they take a genuine issue, what appears like a genuine issue to majority of people, they basically hijack it, and it is basically taken over by people who are working in the hands of external forces with a very clear agenda of destabilizing the country. And then a lot of people will just buy in. They think that, yeah, this is an important issue. And then if somebody like Sheikh Hasina makes a really dumb statement that antagonizes the students or antagonizes a particular group of people, that will just feed into the emotions. So Nepal leaders have to be careful. They have to be savvy. They have to realize that there will be some efforts. See, that is in India also. Look at the farmers protest, etc. There were several movements that happened: farmers protest and then restless thing. So there were several protests, and they tried to build them into mass movement. But you have to give credit to the Indian leadership. They acted very wisely when the farm reform was agricultural reform was taken back. People basically did not like it because it was a very important reform. But the thing is, that was probably the smart thing to do at the time. Instead of antagonizing people, or worse, saying something really that antagonizes people, sometimes you just have to survive the day so that you can fight another day. And unfortunately, Sheikh Hasina could not do it successfully. So when these external forces are trying to create unrest, it's not that they're guaranteed to succeed. They basically they pick the right issue to make a lot of fuss about, to create a lot of emotion, passion in the community about. And then if you basically play the right cards, you can basically survive it. Unfortunately, India was able to survive, but Bangladesh was not able to survive. Sheikh Hasina had some missteps, in my opinion. And Nepal has to learn from how India handled all these external disturbances versus what Bangladesh did, how Sheikh Hasina handled them, and also take some proactive measures in terms of reducing the power of NGOs and some financial regulations, etc. India took some right steps in the last few years. So Nepal will be wise to learn from India's success and Bangladesh's failure, and make sure that they basically don't take any missteps. They take the proactive measures to weaken some of these agents of the external elements who may try to destabilize Nepal, and then try to basically, when if a situation develop, don't say anything insensitive or anything that may genuinely antagonize a section of the country. And the other thing is, don't rely on China. Try to rely more on India, because India will not exploit you. China, they are there to exploit you, and in the end, basically, they are in it for themselves. They are not in it for you. So Nepal has to realize it. But anyway, see, nothing is deterministic. Everything is probabilistic. Astrology is a probabilistic science. Nothing is guaranteed, but there is some scope for disturbance in Nepal and some serious strife in Nepal in the next 2-3 years, and they better be careful. So going back to Israel and Iran, I'm afraid. See, I've been always saying for many years that slowly there will be different epicenters. War will start developing, and these fights will keep burning, and everything will converge towards the end of this decade to become a major war, a kind of a world war. So Ukraine war, when it started, several months into it, there was a window of opportunity for peace, and unfortunately that passed. And now basically I expect that will keep burning. And last year, when Biden did not succeed in giving aid to Ukraine, some analysts on social media said, okay, now Ukraine war is going to be over in 2 weeks. They are going to surrender to Russia. But at that time I said, no, this will basically keep going on. And it has still gone on. And I don't see another window of opportunity for peace there in near future. So it will keep going on. And unfortunately, the next epicenter is Middle East. So whatever started as Israel-Hamas war, that basically is now slowly becoming a larger regional war, which I basically said last year. And earlier this year, I forget when, July, August time period, there was a small window of opportunity for peace. If they really seized that opportunity, there could have been peace. But again, that wouldn't have lasted long, basically just a few months. But unfortunately, even that did not happen. Now that window has passed. So I'm afraid slowly and steadily, this war will become larger and larger. Originally, it was only Gaza war between Hamas and Israel. Now Lebanon is also involved. There are hostilities between Israel and Lebanon, and now there are some hostilities between Iran and Israel. And slowly, I think this will slowly and steadily keep rising. This will become a larger regional war. And unfortunately for Israel, next few years do indicate military tensions and military conflicts with other players in the neighborhood. So I am afraid there's no window of opportunity in near future. So this war will keep simmering and slowly keep growing in scope. So we have one epicenter in Eurasia, another epicenter in Middle East, and then the final epicenter will be in the Southeast Asia, Taiwan area. So that will come closer to 2030. So till then, these wars will keep going on, in my unfortunate opinion.
So basically, we are kind of in Third World War. We are in the first or
The
second
early
phase of
phases. In the
the
early
early phase.
phases, when basically they talk about the third war in history books, let's say in 2050s, 2040s, etc., they will write about, they will start with the September 11 US, that thing, then Afghanistan, Iran, all these things as the early stage, and then what happened in Ukraine and Israel, Iran, this has basically the actual buildup of the war. So these are very early stages of the war. I'm afraid things will only keep getting worse rather than getting resolved.
Right. Perian, a last question. We already covered a lot of it. Congress, will it be the end, or it will just keep surviving, and it will just, just keep be there at least for some time? Yeah, iska the end hoga. Like it was
I
created
hope
by Hume. So we also need to see the end of it. Yeah.
I hope it survives for the good of BJP, and I hope Rahul Gandhi remains the leader of Congress for the good of BJP.
He, he's the star
Honestly,
campaigner. Yeah.
because he's a see. I'm joking on them, but the thing is, last year they really came close. Their actual number may be 99, but this was their astrologically, this was their best chance to make Rahul Gandhi the prime minister. But in my assessment, he will never become prime minister. So even at the best of his life's opportunities, he basically failed it. And after next March, things will get even worse for Congress, and particularly after June. Rahul Gandhi's decent year will end and a terrible year will start. So already their best is over. That was basically before June 2024. Already they went from good to decent, and they will go from decent to terrible in next June. So I think Congress Party will be in serious trouble in 2025. There will be some serious setbacks, and some of the upcoming elections, which we'll talk about in a future video. In some of the upcoming elections, they will face some serious setbacks, and apart from elections, there will be some breakups in the party. So there'll be big changes in the political landscape of India in 2025, in my assessment, and Congress will be on the losing end of those. So they will become a considerably weaker party in the second half of 2025, in my opinion. Uh, but I haven't looked beyond that, beyond 2025, how they look like in 2026, 2027. But one thing I do expect is that BJP, based on their chart, they will rule India for the next few cycles. I don't expect Congress to be coming to power at the national level in the next elections, also in the 2028 or 2029 elections. That's very, very, very unlikely. But the thing is, to increase the chances of BJP fans should hope that Rahul Gandhi remains in charge of Congress till that election.
जी, बिल्कुल सही। Thank you so much, Periana, for joining. It is really wonderful. Let's see. We want to see Rahul Gandhi as the star campaigner, क्योंकि जब तक जलेबी की फैक्ट्री नहीं लगती है, तब तक हरियाणा इलेक्शन जीता नहीं जाता है. In short, he will put dosa factory also sometimes. I wouldn't be surprised. Dosa idli, the way he talks, he can say
I think
anything.
you should go to Maharashtra and talk about pav bhaji factories.
Pav bhaji and vada pav factory is very soon. Yeah.
Not pav bhaji, vada pav factories. Yeah.
Vada pav. Yeah. थैंक यू सो मच पेरियाना फॉर जॉइनिंग। जाने से पहले सभी व्यूअर से रिक्वेस्ट है, नरसिम्हा राव सर का चैनल है, मैं उसका लिंक और जो वेबसाइट है उसका लिंक मैं डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में दूंगी। प्लीज उसको भी लाइक, सब्सक्राइब और शेयर करें। बहुत अच्छा, वहाँ पे बहुत स्पिरिचुअल और बहुत सारी रिलीजियस ट्रेडिशंस, कल्चर से रिलेटेड बातें होती हैं, सो यू मस्ट फॉलो हिम देयर आल्सो। थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन। प्लीज डोंट फॉरगेट टू लाइक, सब्सक्राइब एंड शेयर। इसी के साथ जय हिंद, जय श्री राम, हर हर महादेव। थैंक यू सो मच।
Jai Hind, Jai Shri Ram.